Hello there, creative imposter world on social media. Happy holiday weekend for my fellow United Statesians. You, I, we may be having some complicated feelings around this time around our Independence Day, 4th of July holiday here in the US. I cannot speak for you, of course, but I can speak for me and say that yes, my feelings around this holiday are perhaps more complicated this year than usual. And that is the premise behind this series that I'm producing here on my channels as part of the Creative Imposter podcast called Creativity and Media as Resistance. And for the last couple of weeks, I have been inviting guests on at this time to live stream conversations about how we as creatives can resist some of the social political things that are happening in our country and even in the world at this point in time, and how we can protect our hearts and our souls and sort of look at what our role is at this time and in this space, and how we can go about supporting our communities and the people in our lives. And message from Jonas in our community here. He's feeling good for Independence Day, so that's great. Thanks. Hi, Jonas. And today I was coming on solo because it is a holiday week and I didn't want to take up anybody's time to do an interview, but also because I kind of wanted to take a moment to process some of the thoughts that I've been having as this series began. So I began this series of conversations as part of the Creative Imposter because I have been challenged this first half of 2025 in my own creative life and work. So I have described it as feeling kind of a heavy blanket of existential dread that is worse than it's ever been. And that is related to things that are happening in our society that are directly opposed to some of my personal values and beliefs. And also observing how people that I care about and people who I don't even know are really hurting and suffering right now as a result of policies that are being enacted. And I was feeling, and truth be told, some days still am feeling paralyzed creatively about what I can possibly do or say that makes a drop of difference. It's like reading headlines and articles and hearing conversations about the world being on fire and watching our country possibly crumbling. I don't know, maybe, maybe not, before my eyes, while still maintaining this notion that I still have to work and earn a living. I still have to carry out the daily activities of life. Sometimes it's like hard to care about editing a podcast episode or sending an invoice when it feels like citizens, people, humans are being assaulted and snatched off the streets and being sent to detention centers or other countries. There's just, it's a lot to process and it isn't normal. And so it's the question of how do we hold both of these realities at once? And that's something that can be described as cognitive dissonance. It is our own internal processing of these two truths that coincide with each other, um, that feel strongly at odds with each other. I'm half the time questioning my own mind, not knowing whether I can trust what I'm seeing and hearing and reading. And then there's the other part of me that feels guilty for engaging in normal activities, like inviting friends over for a fire in my courtyard, or going out to dinner, or anything at all that might possibly bring a sense of normalcy and joy into my life. It feels like, but I should be doing more. We should be doing more. We should not be engaging in joyful or creative activities when there is real work to be done. And I haven't fully reconciled this dissonance between these two realities. And that is why I created this series for the podcast as a way to reach out to other people who I see struggling with managing, having creative ideas around moving forward within these conflicting realities. There was an article in the Guardian US recently in May of 2025, so a couple of months ago, that was talking about this concept. And they were using a term called hyper-normalization. And when I saw, of course, it was posted as like an Instagram slider carousel. We don't call it a slider. We call it a carousel on Instagram. It was an Instagram carousel that first caught my attention. And then I clicked through the link to read the full article. And I'm going to excerpt some of this article here. First articulated in 2005 by scholar Alexei Yurchak to describe the civilian experience in Soviet Russia, hypernormalization describes life in a society where two main things are happening. The first is that people are seeing that governing systems and institutions are broken. The second is that for reasons including a lack of effective leadership and an inability to imagine how to disrupt the status quo, people carry on with their lives as normal despite systemic dysfunction. Give or take a heavy load of fear, dread, denial, and dissociation. Not familiar with any of those feelings. How about you? There was a quote from Rahaf Harfouch, which I don't know if I'm saying that right, who is a digital anthropologist. Fascinating career title. Digital anthropologist who had posted this whole article was stimulated by a video that someone posted on Instagram describing these feelings of fear, dread, denial, and dissociation currently in the United States. And Harfouch had posted a response video on Instagram. So there's another bizarre thing for my mind to figure out, which is how we're having conversations by posting videos back and forth on a social media platform. Anyway, that's a whole other rabbit hole. But the quote was, "What you're feeling is the disconnect between seeing that systems are failing, that things aren't working, and yet the institutions and the people in power just are like ignoring it and pretending everything is going to go on the way that it has." So, that feels very relevant to me. And that's how I've been feeling sometimes where I'm like, why do I see not just leaders, like there's a fair amount of like, why aren't our leaders doing anything? Um, Again, that's another rabbit hole we could go down, but also just in day-to-day life, both observing people out in the wild doing normal things and activities, especially Chicago here in the summer. Chicago is glorious in the summer, and we love to be out on patios and rooftops and in pools and at the lake. And also that feeling for myself of like, how can I possibly be acting as normal when we don't even know what reality we're going to wake up to tomorrow? And I say all of this knowing that your experience may be completely different than mine. You may be experiencing some of these same things. Some of this may be resonating with you. And you might also be thinking, Andrea, you're like way off on the deep end, and everything is going to be fine. And this is, whatever, whatever. And that's fine. Not everybody is having the same experience here. I also want to acknowledge, and this is something that has come up in some of my conversations on this series, a certain amount of privilege, a certain amount of actual physical relative safety, right? Because of my identity, because of where I live, perhaps, because of certain things, I am not presently in any kind of physical danger or threat to my existence, right? I have quote status, whatever that means. I have a home, I have food, I have a supportive community. I have certain privileges, which is to say that I am not physically in any kind of danger as a result of the things that are happening at this moment. Um, but which is also to say that I think it was Monica Rivera who I was having a conversation with, who was talking about how, and yet we are all connected. And yet, when these things are happening to other humans in our world, in our society, there is still threat that we are experiencing. And that none of us are really guaranteed safety. None of us are really guaranteed the next day. And that's heavy. And I'm sorry to come on here and be heavy about these sorts of things, but these are just some of the things that I've been processing and like thinking about what is it that I can do? What is it that I can offer to be a support to those of us who as creative healings, as creative humans, as empathetic beings, if you are feeling anything anywhere near or adjacent to what I'm describing, if you're wondering how to respond to this moment and protect your heart, I was just talking with Elsie Escobar, who is a mentor of mine and who is an upcoming guest next week on this series, about how you can be of support and be a public figure and be a coach, be a mentor, be a creator. But there are also personal things that sometimes you need to keep close to you, or think about what is the right container or who is the right audience to share certain personal experiences. That just because you have had personal experiences that are relevant to the moment doesn't mean that you have to always put it out on the table and make yourself vulnerable. There are moments to keep things close and also protect yourself. But if you are in this space, if you're trying to make sense of where you fit into the discourse or the conversation or the activism or the resistance or anything here, then that's what this series is all about for you. If you are working through finding your place in this and you are somehow using your creative resources or your media platform as a form of resistance to this moment, I would love to hear about it. I would love for you to reach out and tell me more about what you're working on, what you're creating, what you're facilitating, what you're hosting, and how you are positioning yourself within that to be a support and to be a resource. I would love to find out more as we continue this series moving forward. I also just wanted to share a couple of updates. Two of the guests that I have had on this live stream episode, and their episode is also edited and out as audio format in the Creative Imposter podcast feed on your favorite podcast listening app. Wendy Parman and Sue Fink are singer-songwriters here in Chicago. And last weekend, they hosted a concert, a benefit concert for an organization called Democracy Forward. It was called 50 Shades of Blue, The Resistance Sings, and they had, I think, 22 artists performing at this sold out concert in Chicago. And this was a diverse array of artists, from folk musicians to Broadway performers to jazz and soul and R&B. And it was incredible to see this community come together to perform. And what I really was inspired by and not expecting was that a number of the artists made space within their song or within their story. There was also an incredible storyteller for the audience to participate. And now, okay, I have a theater background, I have a music performance background, and I am somebody who typically does not enjoy audience participation. I do not want to sit in the front row for fear that somehow I'm going to get pulled into some kind of audience participation. When that gets announced in a performance, I try to avoid eye contact at all costs with the performers because I normally don't want to do it. So, but this audience participation was different. This was not anyone being put on the spot or anything like that. This was, I am going to sing this chorus that has these same words. You're going to hear it several times, and I want us all to sing along. So I think maybe the first time that happened, I jotted it down. It was Michael J. Miles, and the chorus was, "This is wrong," referencing things happening now in this country. And I was like, us singing this refrain of "this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong" over and over and over again. I had this aha moment that they say that one of the communication tactics that is being used by the far right conservative party administration in this moment is sort of this, I'm blanking on the actual word for it, but I would call it gaslighting, where when you say something that is not true or is not grounded in fact or is a lie or is wrong, when you say it over and over and over and over and over again, it sort of takes on this quality of truth and it becomes a reality because enough people are hearing it enough times that they're believing it. And then it almost doesn't matter that it was never true to begin with because it becomes a part of our reality. This is something that I see happening all the time where I'm like, but that's just not, it's not true. And so if that's gaslighting, I was like, oh, singing over and over again together in a collective, in a group, "This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong." It's sort of like the anti-gaslighting measure in a way where it's like, no, I will not be programmed into believing that something is okay or something is normal. I will not accept that as this is just the way things are. I will reprogram my mind to stay aligned with what my truth and my values are. So that was one. Wendy herself sang a song where we had the opportunity to chime in and sing as a chorus, as an audience, as a collective, the word "resist" over and over again. And there was just something so empowering about being in this group of people, most of whom were complete strangers, from different backgrounds, and being in this space where everybody sort of had a different take or a different thing that they were bringing to highlight, that was important to them, and sharing vulnerably and sharing our voices together and being part of a collective felt, it helped me to feel stronger as an individual, just being part of that space. And I was thinking about how important it is to be in these spaces where we are not, sitting alone in that fear, in that dread, in that dissociation, but we are in our bodies and surrounded by other people who are standing with us in our beliefs. Another experience related to this series is the very first guest that I had on live stream, and her episode is also out in the podcast feed now, is Lisa Lackey. And Lisa is a psychotherapist, a leadership strategist, and I just joined a community circle that she is facilitating called The Second Knowing. And last week was our first group session facilitated online on Zoom. And it is a collective of women, again, different backgrounds, different walks of life, and mostly women, I think ages 40 on up. So at similar stages in life. And this circle was so interesting for me in the way that both in the way that Lisa facilitated and also in the women who were showing up. And again, most of us don't know each other, and people were so open and sharing their current inquiries, their current moments of transition, their current struggles with everything from the grand societal problems that we're dealing with, all the way down to mundane daily functions and roles such as working and caregiving, either for children or teenagers or for, elderly parents and family members. And some cases, even like challenges with simple tasks like showering. And just though we were talking of naming the things that we're feeling challenged with or struggling with or wanting support to transition through, there was also this undercurrent of joy, of the possibility of joy, of the possibility of connection, of the possibility of what Lisa describes as returning to yourself and really trusting yourself and nurturing yourself within this community space. And so, in both of these two formats, the concert with Wendy and Sue, and then also the women's circle with Lisa Lackey, in both of these scenarios, these are moments to refill my cup and to be able to come back and have something to say and have um, some faith or some hope in moving forward into a better future instead of spiraling into whatever chaos we may be spiraling into at this moment. And I'm sharing these examples, first of all, because if you didn't catch those conversations, I would love for you to go back and either watch the video replay on YouTube or Instagram. No, the replays are not on Instagram, on YouTube or LinkedIn, or to listen to the audio versions, which are coming out in the Creative Imposter podcast feed, because I think that these conversations will be very nourishing for you as well, as much as they have been for me. But I'm sharing this because it's easy to want to stay in bed. It's easy to sit on the couch and watch some streaming service show or to be on the porch drinking your tea in silence. It's easy to get caught scrolling social media on your phone. It's easy to get caught scrolling social media on your phone and reading all of these nervous system dysregulating headlines and using your natural animal instincts to be hyper vigilant for this, whatever the next existential threat is, whether it's on your device or in your backyard. Your nervous system doesn't really know the difference between those two things. It's easy to say, screw it, and just go out for drinks with your friends as if everything is completely fine and sit on a glorious Chicago suburb patio. And all of that is okay. If you are doing any of those activities, it's all okay. And it might be what you need in the moment. But I encourage you to also consider that it is okay to acknowledge that it takes a lot to hold all of these realities at once, and that our nervous systems were not designed for this onslaught of information, this assault on sensory processing coming to us through our devices, through headlines, through social media. And yes, we humans are incredible because we are adaptable. We do learn, we do change, but man, it's a lot to deal with right now. So I encourage you to give yourself a break. I encourage you to understand that you may need more support, more help, more grounding in your physical body and in the spaces where you feel safe and held than usual. So, my encouragement to you is to see where you can find it. Join a community, something, even if you don't know all the people, but you have a pretty good sense that their values are going to be aligned with you. Go to an event that is going to lift you up and be surrounded by people who are here with us. Be real with the people in your life when you are not doing okay, when you need something, even if it's just commiseration or venting or a walk in the park or whatever it is. And when you are feeling strong, when you are feeling okay, be there for the others in your life who may not be, because you don't know. Somebody may be carrying on their life as normal and looks like they're totally fine on the outside, but they may be struggling on the inside. So reach out, ask people how they're doing, and listen. And for all of you creatives out there, don't stop. Don't stop what you're doing. Don't stop what you're creating. I wanted to kind of end this conversation with a message from the aforementioned Elsie Escobar, who will be on the live stream with me next Thursday at 3 p.m. Central. And she posted on Instagram an offering. So Elsie, I said, is a mentor of mine. She is a podcast advocate. She's somebody who's worked in the industry even longer than I have. She is someone who can see industry trends and where things are going, but who has a strong dedication to independent voices, to diverse representation, and inclusivity within the creator uh, content world, media world. And Elsie came up with a type of session that she's offering right now, a limited number of spaces called Creative Sovereignty Sessions. And what she wrote on Instagram is, I am tired, tired of the chaos, the noise, the systems of inequity that try to make independent creators feel small and stifle our voices. But my response to that exhaustion is not to retreat. It's to engage in a quiet rebellion. My rebellion is helping other creators build work so rooted in purpose that it cannot be shaken. That, to me, is an incredible personal rebellion. And it is a beautiful example of what I am looking for in my life and in this series. And of course, if you are a content creator, a podcaster, media creator, and that called to you, you can find out more about the sessions that Elsie is offering. In her, there's a link in her Instagram, which is, her handle is at the Elsie Escobar, at the Elsie Escobar. And you can check out more about those sessions for sure. Working with Elsie has been game changing with me over and over again throughout my career, 10-year career in podcasting. But also, even beyond that, just asking yourself, even if you are feeling tired and exhausted, what is your personal rebellion? What is the way that you can use your gifts and skills and talents and resources to create more of the future and the world and the society that you want to live in? And so if you are celebrating this holiday weekend, celebrate. Be with people, be with family, be with friends, lay on the beach, soak in some sun, generate some vitamin D. I know for myself, though I have conflicting feelings about the holiday, I am so looking forward to spending some time with my nieces, doing driveway fireworks with them. It's so much fun being with smaller humans than just with grown-ups, for me, I think. So I will be enjoying that and nourishing myself in that way. And if you would rather not be out and not be social and take some time to sip your tea on your porch solo in silence, well, whatever silence you can find with fireworks going on in your neighborhood, perhaps, um, that's fine too. So just think about, what is your personal rebellion? What are the ways that you can continue to create? And what are the ways that you can really lean on your community and your people? And if you're not sure who those people are, that you can go out and find those people for yourself. So thank you. Happy 4th of July. And I will see you next week on Creativity and Media as Resistance on The Creative Imposter.